Ladies and gentlemen, our dear students and parents, I would like to welcome you to lesson 1, and the topic is soil. And in this particular lesson, we are going to look at some facts about soil. We shall also look at how soil is important or advantageous, especially to living organisms. And then also we'll conclude by looking at how soil is formed, what we call soil formation. So I want to welcome all our dear students to come closer, get your summary books, and then follow what we are going to look at. So thank you so much and welcome to this lesson. Now, we want to start with some facts about soil. Did you know that soil is actually a living system? Yes, soil is a living system. If you just got a handful of soil, and then you look out for living organisms which are there, you may realize that the number of organisms in that handful of soil can be more than the people in your country. Yes, we are talking about the bacteria, the nematodes, the protists, and others. Some of them, of course, are microscopic, so you may not be able to see them with your naked eye. So there are so many. So that makes the soil a living system because it has very many living organisms. Members, to see soil form, you may need to live for a very long time to see the process of soil formation. This is because just an inch of soil to be formed, it may take more than 500 years. Those are about 5 generations of people. So therefore, if you have soil anywhere, you must protect it, because when it loses its fertility, or when it loses, it's washed away by agents of soil erosion, it may be difficult to replace it. And yet, soil provides all nutrients which are required, especially for plant growth. Members, did you know that soil actually filters water? Yes, it filters water as water percolates through it. It removes the pollutants and the harmful substances from this water. And when you pump your borehole, you get water from down there, which is very well filtered. And in most cases, it is healthy and safer for human consumption. However, you can always consult with your public health officials in your district to guide you well on the best place of putting the water sources. Members, approximately 10% of the world's carbon dioxide are stored in the soil, the carbon dioxide emissions. So when this carbon dioxide goes to the atmosphere, usually from industries, it dissolves in rainwater and then finds itself in the soil. And in soil, it exists as carbonic acid or even carbonates. Soil, when you look at its composition, you realize that it consists of about 45% minerals. We're talking about sulfates, nitrates, carbonates, and so on. And then about 25% water, 5% organic matter, 25% air. So those are the components of soil. So when you get soil, you realize there are very many things involved to form that material called soil. And then soil, of course, is at the bottom of the food chains, meaning all organisms get their nourishment from the soil, especially the producers, the green plants. When you look at the worms, we are talking about the earthworms, the annelids, as well as the nematodes. These organisms feed on organic matter which is found in the soil. And in so doing, they are so helpful because they are helping to break down the carbon, these organic compounds into smaller particles called manure. At the same time, they are creating holes in the soil that enables water to percolate through, to penetrate through the soil layers, and also air as well. So the existence of worms in the soil improves on absorption of water as well as aeration of the soil. So when you get soil with the worms, it's very important. You should be happy because that soil might be fertile. One of the world leaders, Franklin D. Roosevelt, once said that the nation that destroys its soil actually destroys itself. And that probably might be true, because when we destroy our soil, then where are we going to live? So we must protect it so that even our children will get the soil. And when you harvest from the soil, you harvest good things, you're always happy. And those who have been doing farming, you know what it means, harvesting, harvesting season. Mining takes place in the soil. If you have ever visited Mubende, you must have seen some gold mines there. In Tororo, there is some limestone mine in Moroto, similarly. So a lot of precious minerals got from the soil: gold, diamond, bauxite, iron ore, and others. So it is very important. Soil gives us good products. We use soil to modify products that are used for construction, like max pans and bricks. And when we die, we are buried in the soil, and soil is very important for that ceremony of burial, because that's why our graves are dug. We have very many living organisms that survive from the soil, ranging from bacteria to protists to nematodes to protozoans, even bigger ones like mammals and birds live in the soil. So soil generally has a lot of uses, a lot of advantages. However, because of human activities, soil has been forced to lose its value, what we call soil degradation. And soil has been degraded, and as a result, we have experienced disasters, including landslides that we saw in Bududa. You must have seen on TV, Elgon area, where villages were washed away. You saw floods in Kasese, where including a hospital was damaged by the flowing water. So therefore, we must study soil so that we know how best to use it, so as to get the best from it without necessarily damaging the soil. So let's start by defining what soil is. So soil is a finely divided material covering the Earth's crust or Earth's surface. So when you move around the Earth on the surface, you will see a layer called soil, and this one you must have seen. Soil consists of air, water, humus, or sometimes called manure, living organisms, weathered rock particles. So those are the components of soil, or the composition of soil. So having looked at the composition of soil, let's look at the importance of soil. Is soil advantageous? And if yes, how? So to begin with, it's a medium for plant growth. Most of the plants, if not all the plants, can grow from the soil. And those who are farmers can witness this, that without soil you may not be able to be successful in agriculture. It's also a means of water storage. A lot of water is stored in the soil. Supply. So water percolates in the soil and moves from one layer to another. It can also move to water bodies through the soil. And even purification, like we saw earlier. Water is filtered as it sinks through different soil layers. And then soil is a habitat for many organisms. The earthworms, the termites, the bacteria, the fungi, the arthropods live in the soil. So very many organisms find their home or nourishment from the soil. So when you destroy soil, you have destroyed life as well. Soil also provides a medium through which man and all animals dispose their wastes. Most of the wastes are actually disposed of in the soil. When you have rubbish at home, where do you pour it? Probably in the rubbish pit in the soil. Soil also is used to establish purification plants, sewage treatment plants, industrial waste disposal plants, and so on. So wastes are always disposed in the soil. So that's another advantage. And then soil is an important natural resource which provides construction materials like bricks, mark spans, tiles, and so on. And it's also used for agriculture. And we have seen very many farms, gardens established. Yeah, so there are very many other importances of soil, but allow me proceed to soil formation. How is soil formed? It's believed that initially there was no soil. It just used to be a bare rock, a parent rock. But after some time, this parent rock gave rise to soil. And the process by which it involves breaking down of this rock into smaller particles to form soil. The process by which parent rocks are broken down into smaller particles of soil is what we call weathering. Is what we call what? Weathering. And weathering takes place over a long period of time, hundreds of years. And there are three major ways of weathering, or three types of weathering. The first one is physical weathering, and then we have chemical weathering and biological weathering. Physical, chemical, and biological. So those are the three types of what? Weathering. So we are going to look at them one by one, starting with physical weathering. So how does it occur? Of course, physical means it involves physical processes taking place. There is no reaction as per se, but they are just physical processes. One, it occurs through alternate heating and cooling of rocks and exposed mountain sides. So when a rock is heated, maybe sunshine hits it, it expands. The rock particles will expand due to movement of molecules. Kinetic energy increases and it expands. When the rock cools, it contracts. When the rock heats, it expands. When it cools, it contracts. So what will happen after some time? Contracting, expansion, contracting. This rock will break, and it will break into smaller particles. Eventually will form soil after some time. That is one way. The other way, physical way, is through water. You know, water can move very fast. Of recent, one of the citizens of Kampala was taken by the water. So sad. And up to now, the dead body has not been found. Water can move at a very high speed and can carry stones and marble and gravel and pebbles, and those ones can collide with each other and even with other rocks, breaking them into smaller particles. And in the long run, if that is repeated over a long period of time, soil can form. The other way is sandstorms. Wind blowing at a high speed, carrying stones and so on. Sand hits on rocks and other particles and breaking down into smaller particles, forming soil. The other one is frosting. During winter, in some parts of the world, ice forms. Water turns into ice, into solid. And when water turns into solid, it expands. If you want to prove that, put water in a glass bottle and cover it and put it in the fridge. When it freezes, it will break the bottle. So imagine if that water was in between the rocks. It will break the rock. Yes. So those are physical ways in which soil can be formed. That's what we call physical weathering. It involves heating and cooling, movement of water at high speed, sandstorms, frosting. Those are some of the ways in which physical weathering takes place. So you can see there, this rock was broken, probably by ice. As ice forms, the rock was forced to expand, and therefore it was not elastic, so it broke. And after a long period of time, you will see smaller rocks forming, and then soil will eventually emerge. The other type of weathering is chemical weathering. The moment you hear the word chemical, we are talking about reactions taking place. So this is brought about by mainly action of water, especially on rainwater on rocks. So when it rains, rain dissolves carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to form what we call carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid is capable of reacting with some of the minerals in the rocks. As this rain falls on the rock particles, on the rock, the carbonic acid dissolves some of these minerals, creating gaps in the rock, and therefore exposing it to more forces of weathering, leading to a formation of soil in a long run. And this is very common, especially in mineral rock. So you can see after a long period of time, the rock is weathered chemically. The carbonic acid and other chemicals dissolve some particles and holes are created in the rock. And after a long period of time, this rock will be no more, it will be soil. And then you can see there after a long period of time. Then the other one is, the last type of weathering is biological weathering. The moment you hear the word biological or biology, we're talking about living things. So this time it is biological weathering, meaning weathering caused by living things. Breakdown of rocks as a result of action of living things. And this can be brought about by, for example, presence of lichens. A lichen is an association between a fungus and an algae, and grows on the rocks, on bare rocks. So when these lichens grow, their small roots, the roots penetrate through the rock, trying to break the rock slowly. When the lichens die, they decompose, and that manure is left there in the rocks, and that will be the first layer of soil. After a long period of time, other organisms can grow on top of that, and the rock is weakened and breaks down. Another way is man, ourselves, who have participated in this process of breaking down rocks. You have seen how people dig latrines, they break the rocks. You have seen how they construct roads, they break the rocks. How they dig foundations of buildings, they break the rocks. So after a long period of time, these rocks are broken into smaller particles, and the soil is formed. As long as it involves living organisms, including livestock, cows and goats, breaking rocks or stepping on them, this kind of weathering is what we call physical weathering. So you can see, it's called biological weathering. So when you see here, you will see a plant growing in between the rock and breaking down that rock. Then in a long run, soil is formed. So members, in this lesson, we have looked at interesting facts about soil. Which one do you remember? Probably you remember that soil is a living system. Yes, that's great. You also looked at definition of soil. We defined soil as a finely divided material covering the Earth's crust or Earth's surface. And then we looked at importance of soil to plants, and then we also looked at soil formation. So I want you to do a summary of the whole lesson, and then write it in your summary book, and then you can send me your summary in my inbox. I'll be able to look through it and then advise you accordingly. In the next lesson, Mr. Mukangala Michael will take you through other details about soil, and then I'll come back in lesson 3. See you there. Thank you so much. Stay at home.